As an example, how much would you pay for a promise to pay you $10,000 a year from now? If you currently grow your savings at 5.49% annually, you would discount the $10,000 a year from now by 1.0549, which is 1 plus 0.0549, and calculate $9,480. You can see that after a year growing at 5.49%, multiply by 1.0549, $9,480 will end up at $10,000. So effectively, you would be indifferent to having $9,480 now or $10,000 a year from now. As another example, how much would you pay for a promise to pay you $10,000 2 years from now? If you currently grow your savings at 5.49% annually, in 2 years, your savings will grow by 11.28%, which is 1.0549 times 1.0549, which equals 1.1128. So, you would discount the $10,000 by 1.1128 and calculate $8,986. Multiplying $8,986 by 1.0549 twice will get you to $10,000 in 2 years. What about a promise to pay you $1,000 at the end of every year for 40 years? What would you be willing to pay for that? Well, we can do the calculation for each year and then sum up all the resulting discounted amounts. Assuming our annual 5.49% growth for year 1, we discount by 1.0549, calculating $947.96. For year 2, we discount by 1.1128, calculating $898.62. For year 3, we discount by 1.1739, calculating $851.86, and so on to year 40, where we discount by 8.4811, which is 1.0549 multiplied 40 times, calculating $117.91. Summing up all these discounted amounts, we calculate $16,067. Effectively, if your goal was the most capital over time, you would be indifferent to having $16,067 now, or $1,000 every year for 40 years. In this example, how much capital would we have after 40 years? Well, if we grow the $16,067 by 5.49% every year for 40 years, we end up with $136,266. If we are indifferent between the two choices, then we should also end up with $136,266 at the end of 40 years in the case of the promise for $1,000 annually. However, wouldn't we end up with only $40,000? Remember, you have more opportunities with property in the present than property in the future, so the payments received early on can be saved, growing at 5.49% annually. After 1 year, you end up with $1,000. After 2 years, you end up with $2,054.90, which is $54.90 from saving $1,000 year 1 plus the $1,000 received. After 3 years, you end up with $3,167.71, which is $112.81 from saving $2,054.90 year 2, plus the $1,000 received. Continuing to calculate all the way to 40 years, you end up with $136,266. This example of receiving payments over time is a common calculation for loans and investments, where capital is needed upfront in order to produce capital over time. Think of the smartphone manufacturer who needs to purchase the factory, equipment, and labor needed to build the smartphones, which are then subsequently sold at a later time. These calculations can determine if it makes sense to pay the capital up front for the expected gains in capital in the future. These calculations can be summarized in what is called the net present value formula. Assuming a constant rate of capital growth g, then the net present value is equal to the summation over time of the capital gained at time t divided by 1 plus g raised to the power t, where t is the different periods of time. In many cases, the capital received will cut off at some point and not go on forever. However, even for an infinitely recurring gain of capital into the future, this infinite summation will converge to a finite value because of the ever-increasing discounting. For a constant gain of capital delta c at every time period, this summation equals the following equation, where the net present value is equal to delta c multiplied by 1 minus 1 plus g raised to the negative t, all divided by g, which simplifies to the net present value equaling delta c divided by g when t is equal to infinity. For a constant gain of capital over 40 years and growth of 5.49% annually, delta c over g overshoots the actual NPV by about 13%. So it can be a reasonably good estimate for calculating the net present value for a series over a long period of time. Opportunity cost is not just simply applicable to money and savings, but all forms of property. When deciding between a series of choices that uses property you own, such as your money, savings, house, car, and especially your body, all with different sets of future outcomes, the production of capital posits to calculate which choice or set of choices will have you ending up with the most capital. Capital is a way to quantify and compare your different forms of property to do these calculations. A common example of property that provides capital over time is purchasing a house. Rather than put your savings into a mutual fund, you could decide to buy a house, live in it, or rent it out. If you are knowledgeable of the housing market, know housing codes and how to fix things easily and affordably, know the laws pertinent to renting, and know how to draft a good and fair renter's agreement, you can be successful in producing a reasonable income through real estate management. Let's say you live in Detroit. Currently, for many reasons, this has the lowest real estate prices in the country relative to the rent. If you have the knowledge and ability to properly manage it, you can purchase a house for $50,000 and rent it out for $650 a month and pay expenses at $1,000 a year. Assuming prices stay constant, this is a growth of capital of 13.6% a year. This is a better opportunity than a 5.49% mutual fund. However, let's say you live in San Francisco. For many reasons, this has the highest real estate prices in the country relative to the rent. You can purchase an apartment for $2 million, rent it out for $4,000 a month, and pay expenses at $3,000 a year. Assuming prices stay constant, this is a growth of capital of only 2.4% a year. This is a worse opportunity than a 5.49% mutual fund. Of course, prices and incomes don't stay constant, and as such, the opportunities that make the most sense are always changing depending on the market, new demands, new laws, and new technologies. To the extent you are knowledgeable and can foresee this, you can take the most profitable opportunities. Going back to how we define the discounting equation, which is the present capital willing to forego is equal to the expected capital received in the future divided by 1 plus the percentage expected personal growth of capital divided by 100%, we can see that it is fairly personalized. The present capital individuals are willing to forego for property in the future will be different from individual to individual. This is because every individual speculates what the future capital of the property will be or essentially how effectively they are going to be able to use the property to produce future capital, as well as speculates what their personal growth of capital will be, which is how effectively they can use their current property. This is not some universal growth of capital, but their personal growth of capital. Some individuals may have better opportunities to grow capital than others, like in the case of Jane and Will, so they may prefer different forms of property more or less than others. The importance of knowledge manifests here, where those who have a better realization of the future capital of property will be able to make more accurate calculations. If you overestimate the future capital of a certain form of future property, then you may purchase it, produce it, or own it when you shouldn't. Or, if you speculate that you will be able to grow the capital of your current property greater than other property, you will miss out on a better opportunity and hold on to property that you shouldn't. Those property owners who are knowledgeable of how to organize property, predict the demands of the market, or understand the reliability of those you entrust your property with, will allocate their capital towards property with the best opportunities of growth and capital creation. The field of accounting is utilized to keep track of capital and incomes of companies and corporations in order to hold account management, pay out dividends to shareholders and owners, and pay taxes, among other purposes. The net income of a company is how much the capital of the property they own and manage has changed, usually over a year. This change in the capital of property owned is assigned to the shareholders of the company, who are essentially the owners of the company. We can apply the net present value formula to the net income of the company to get a valuation of the shares of the company, effectively its ownership. Let's say a company has been making an average and steady net income of $1 million every year for the past 40 years. Given the consistency of the net income, you could assume that this net income will continue into the future. If we are to calculate the discounted sum of $1 million every year for the next 40 years, assuming a growth of capital of 5.49%, we calculate $16,070,000. We would be indifferent to growing $16,070,000 at 5.49% annually, or purchasing this company for $16,070,000. If we believe by owning the company we can better manage it and increase net income to, say, $1.5 million, then we have a strong incentive to buy it for $16,070,000. However, if by owning it, we are likely to mismanage it, perhaps because we are inexperienced in that industry, we may end up reducing the net income in the future, say down to $500,000. Then we have a strong incentive not to buy it for $16,070,000. Now, as individuals, we may lack the amount of money and capital to make such decisions, but collectively, by investing our savings into banks and mutual funds, these banks and funds accumulate enough capital to make such decisions on your behalf, and the behalf of everyone who invests their savings in them, giving us the opportunity to grow our savings, regardless of how small or large it is. For example, 10,000 people who each save $10,000 adds up to $100 million collectively. By understanding the expected future outputs of an asset, e.g., the net incomes of a company, we can calculate the capital we would be willing to forego in the present for it. This is easily understood for well-documented increase in capital for companies. However, when you think about it, this is true for all assets that provide expected future functionality. We value property in the present because we expect it to be usable sometime into the future. A car that is expected to be drivable, a house livable, food edible. As shown in the case of owning a house that provides functionality in the future, we can subsequently discount its functionality in the future, derived from its rents, to calculate the price we would be willing to pay for it in the present. Now, of all the forms of property that exist, Human beings are very significant entities in society that produce capital over time through labor and through the management of property. In the next chapter, I argue how the principle of net present value can be used to quantify the capital of human beings via our productivity deriving from our ability to organize the material world, creating capital. This is one of the critical principles regarding the concept of capital I hope to convey and argue